I mean, even this alone is already like such well poisoning. Why do I debate terrible people? Look, if you don't agree with people's views, it doesn't follow that they're terrible people. You holding that view, however, does make you a terrible person. So I'm going to give myself one contradictory position here. That is an empty, a soulless, black-eyed witch right there. Soulless, black-eyed witch. Actual demon. She doesn't even, look, she's just looking. She's fielding from the spiritual void for words to say. Just whatever comes to my head. So let's take a look at the Cope stream here.
Of essentially, are you, by engaging with opposite harmful idea, are you facilitating the pipeline that brings people towards that idea in the first place? And are you, like, what's your role essentially and responsibility in that? I think it's a really good question. In general,
I think it's a good question. You're literally Destiny with a wig on.
The pipe.
Everything's like a question, an upward inflection. I think it's a really good question.
Pipeline argument.
I think I'm going to yap for another 15 minutes.
I tend to reject personally. I'm kind of the view that people.
The view? Question mark? Question mark? What's going to come into my head next?
Who are going to be drawn towards a certain viewpoint will find it, whether it's through me or through something else. And so by barring myself from being able to engage with that idea, I essentially view free discourse. I think dialogue between opposing sides is more important than like the element of contribution I have to the pipeline, because essentially I would argue the pipeline happens regardless of what I do. And so I think essentially the pros of engaging with these ideas, pushing back, but also showing...
Pushing back? No, it's your ideas that were being affirmed, you retard. These people have some sort of like weird sense of self-importance, as if they're fighting some sort of like ideological war. It was your ideas. It was Jay and me and Andrew that pushed back on your dumb ideas. Not our ideas. Your dumb ideas. She's like, we are in this war. And we're pushing back on harmful ideas. No, you took the affirmative. It's your harmful idea.
People of these ideas a more sane, rational position that they might find compelling, essentially the reverse pipeline, because I think pipelines go in two directions. I think
do they?
It's worth it.
What a genius.
Essentially.
A pipe faces in two directions. One shot for $20. I'd take being in a scene from Saw over being locked in a room with her without earplugs. Yeah, it's like a form of hell for sure. Without a doubt.
I agree.
Now it's my turn to babble on and make it sound like I'm saying something important. And we can take turns doing this.
Basically, everything you said, like, I do agree that people are going to find these bad rhetorics regardless if you're speaking against those rhetorics to begin with. And they can come to those conclusions via another source or an output panel. But I think when it comes to that, don't you think in general, not just you specifically, but everybody in any given debate space when making content or response videos or anything, whatever, should be at least I feel like people should generally be a lot more picky with who they respond to and to awareness of who they're speaking to, like in terms of an audience.
I feel like meta hell.
What's concerning in this day and age
this is
when
a
it
meta
comes to any
hellscape.
sort of literacy discourse is that it's getting significantly worse with how people take things in. And I'm trying to figure out how to best put it, but people already lean towards a preemptive bias when it comes to a rhetoric. And if that bias is harmful, regardless of how much logic you approach to the discussion or how much rationale you give it, will still, oh, you're wrong, or oh, you lost the debate. For people, I notice it's not really about whether or not they're logically or fairly or reasonably there. It's more so about, haha, fuck you, I'm right, you're wrong.
This is all these people do, by the way. Meta, meta, meta. No arguments, no topic talking, no specific arguments that were presented, no examination of a failed counter to the arguments, no examination of an argument you made that you could have made better. It's just meta prattle. I mean, this is like such a... They're like... They almost get off on wasting the time.
Yeah, so there's kind of a couple of concepts baked in there, right? Which is essentially the utility. There's a bit of a utility argument that you're making there of essentially, well, isn't it the case that so many people will watch this and they...
What's wrong with her voice? It's filled with demons, with spirit babies.
Won't move? Yes. With the Jay Dyer debate, one thing I would be cautious about is if you notice his videos and specifically his appearances, Jay Dyer is unquestionably botting his views in his comment sections. So if you go to like a Piers Morgan showing where he was on a couple of month ago or just in the past at some point recently, if you look at the comment section, it's pretty evident to anyone who's familiar with content creation that he is botting, right? So one thing you have to do is be cautious about assuming how much people are or are not moving from a debate, because it's not self-evident immediately just on the chatter and the commentating that you hear. So for example,
Wow. So now they're talking about, listen guys, don't worry. If you think that this is influencing people and making us look stupid in our argumentation, don't worry, because they're just bots. It's not true, everyone. La 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 la. I didn't say that a group of female nurses could fight a group of male military officers in the debate. I didn't say that. La 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 la.
Result of the whatever debate, I've gained almost 1,000 followers on Twitter alone. And I think I've gained 200 on YouTube, despite not really posting that much on YouTube or driving people there. Jay, despite being in a space that is positive towards his position and he's saying things that they're already warmed up to because they're very similar to what Andrew Wilson says, he was, last I checked his social blade, he hasn't even gained 100, right? So we should be cautious with the first thing of assuming how strong the pipeline is going just from comments alone. Number two, I guess there's this interesting question of essentially, how do you...
She always says this, interesting and essentially.
Engage online ethically with toxic discourse?
Oh gosh, make me throw up. I'm gonna just throw up on myself. Essentially, this is a really important topic, and it's essentially this. How do we engage positively, ethically with toxic discourse, okay? Let us cover this. Let us discuss.
And I guess I'd pose the question to you. What do you think is the correct most...
Dude, what is toxic discourse? I think you're toxic.
Ethical way to engage with...
Such a Karen. Yeah, it's literally a Karen. It's an HR Karen trying to HR Karen the internet.
Extreme Christian nationalist monarchists who want to do away with democracy and women's rights.
Well, I mean, naturally loaded question, but I think it's really important to... It's something that I wholeheartedly believe in is being able to solidify your position with good logic and reasoning, because it makes you stronger, it makes you look better, it makes you not even just look better, but it
the good is toxic, yeah.
Solidifies you as a person and what you represent. Mm-hmm. But when it comes...
Yeah. Let's take a look at that. The caller says, I think that your position should be logical, and if it's logically consistent, that makes your view look good, and it makes you look good. She's like, while also saying that if you cut a hole in your cheek and make it look like a vagina, then it's a vagina. Yeah, that's logical. You can just cut a hole in any part of your body, and as long as you make it aesthetically look like a vagina, then it's a vagina, according to this girl, and that's logical, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally get it. Essentially, Jason Cassell, $10. She's a sore loser. She posted her evidence of bots on X, and a bunch of people called her out for proving they were not bots. Yeah, she's a liar too. Jay demonstrated she was an actual liar.
Comes to having to discuss that and kind of like reach and build a bridge with somebody who's so opposite of the way you operate, who's not even there, I feel like you run risk of like losing yourself if you're not properly prepared for whatever discussion you're about to go into. And I notice when it comes to talking to people on such an extreme side of any spectrum, whether it be the left or the right, is that, like I said earlier, is that they've got such a pre-baked scary bias to the point where,
why are you sucking on your finger, you weirdo?
again, all
what is wrong with these people? Are they on drugs? Are they on some sort of like uppers or
logic and rationale is in
like what is going on?
Reasoning is like it won't matter what you hit them with.
You need a biddy? Do you need a little bit? You need a biddy?
They're still gonna just disregard it or find some weird.
I just essentially can't. I need to suck on my finger.
Like autistic schizo way of like logic leaping their way.
Nothing you said was logical. Nothing was an argument. You're just calling people schizos.
To another conclusion. So like when you ask me like what's the best way, I feel like it's kind of. I feel like you already.
You feel like is that logical?
Kind of do that, and people you've already spoken to, you guys already kind of approach it in the best way. But the reason I bring this up to begin with is because I feel like in a lot of circumstances, like for instance, whatever podcasts and stuff like that, it can ultimately, even if it'll reward you, like you said, a lot of followers, right, and a bigger audience, that's great. But at the same time, what can the other side reward? And like with the ever-growing amount of like people outing themselves as crazies and neo-Nazis and shit like that, I feel like
you feel like, let's talk more about your feelings.
It's kind of a no-win situation where like, okay, if I engage with it and I'm, if I handle this pretty much perfectly and solidify my stance and what matters to me.
This is such a cope. These people do this. That even the Mormons do this that I've been engaging with on Twitter, on X. They have this like shield where they're like, I'm going to ankle bite you on my streams and I'm going to ankle bite you on X and I'm going to do all of these kinds of things. But when we say, hey, jump on this platform and let's debate it. Let's debate the ideas. They go, I will not platform you. I will not share a platform with someone crazy. My feeling is we should not platform these people. It's just a cope. It's just your way of avoiding defending your worldview. And everyone sees through it. That's why you guys are lolcows now. All of you Destiny, sort of orbiting Destiny clones, you're basically the new lolcows because hardly any of you actually come to the table and actually defend your views. All you do is smear people, and then when we challenge you, now I'll give it to this witch, is that she actually showed up and attempted to debate her position.
It's not gonna...
But where are the rest of these people? The army simp.
Gonna matter because all these crazy unhinged people are still gonna go back to what they think is real to them, and they're gonna just say I'm crazy, and they're just gonna disregard everything I've said.
You mean like you just called them crazy? Way to contradict yourself. Way to call yourself out.
To them, and I think that's what solidifies the whole thing as kind of a lose-lose scenario when it comes to one, successfully changing minds, even if you do, and then two, just not using a kind of...
Zach Lohman, not so bright isn't pretty. She's very disheveled in person. She's like she has the aesthetic of someone who lives in their car, like, I'm not lying, like totally scrambled, disheveled, like By the way, I didn't tell you this. When she was cope posting after the debates before the panel, she was cope posting and slandering and smearing people, including me. She was doing that, and clearly she was doing it recently. But when she showed up to the studio, she comes up and she realizes she left her phone in her Uber. I was like, that's nice. That's perfect.
Dangerous game where you accidentally lose yourself, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yes. There's kind of a lot.
It's kind of a lot. Let's process it. Yeah. Can I have the torch now? It's my turn to talk, and we're going to process this, and we're going to get through it. We're going to get through this.
That you just said there. So pause me if I'm not answering kind of your whole thoughts. I think what you're kind of basically outlining is logic is going to be insufficient on these individuals. And so
no, that's just an assertion. In fact, it was demonstrated, notsoErudite, Brestany, whatever you want to be called, that your logic was insufficient. It was your view that was insufficient because you were the affirmative and you couldn't defend it. It was your logic. Member for 6 months. Appreciate the generosity of Jortlandia. Jimbob, thanks for making my commute home enjoyable. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
It's kind of a like, yeah, I'm getting exposure, I'm getting follows and stuff like that. I'm getting my name out there. But fundamentally, I'm not really changing minds. I'm just kind of performing for my side.
No, you're poisoning minds. That's what you're doing. You're poisoning minds. Your worldview is poisonous. It's a lie. Your entire worldview is based on a descriptive lie. notsoErudite, whatever the fuck your name is. Such a dumb name. Literally means not so bright, not so knowledgeable.
Making my side feel good and doing nothing to move anyone on their side.
Why? Your worldview can't even tell us why we ought to move people from one side or the other.
So there's kind of two things here.
There's always two things.
One, is it good to move people toward my side?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
My answer would actually be no. I don't really
Oh, fucking idiot. Oh. She's always looking up into the ether. Where's my next thoughts coming from? Let me look up to the sky and hope that I'm delivering. What are you saying? So wait. Oh, there's a problem. There's toxic views, and you're going to debate to change minds. Oh, is it important for people to move over to my side of thinking? No, it's actually not. Wow. What? Why are you debating? What are you doing?
Care about moving people to my position. I actually mostly care about people moving away from extremism, right?
That's a contradiction. If your position is not extremism and another position is extremism, then if they move away from extremism, they're moving toward your position. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, my camera shit the bed again. Orthobots roll out. Yeah, orthobots roll out.
Right, and so...
She just contradicts herself. She's a sophist. She doesn't care. She doesn't think about what she's saying. She just talks. She doesn't think. She doesn't ponder. She doesn't... This is why it's so important to have a worldview that's consistent, that you think of holistically. It's a web of beliefs and positions, and a web of knowledge has anchor points, if you think of it as a spider web. I'm going to describe what's wrong with these people's views and why it's so disastrous. They don't even realize why it's disastrous, but here's why it's disastrous. Because a worldview is composed of anchor points, like starting positions. Let's say on the web, like a spider web, the longest and most strongest points, these anchor points, these are the points that every other belief is built around. So these would be your fundamental starting assumptions. They would call them axioms, right? We would call them presuppositions. And from there, you can fill in the other strings that that attach to the anchor points. And when you look at a worldview, you look at whether or not these things are all melded together properly, that they're in the proper categories. You know, that's why category errors are so rampant in worldview debates, because they actually don't have a sense of the proper categorization of things. They don't have a picture in their mind of their worldview. You know what I mean? They don't have a picture in their mind. And so when they're talking, this person is a perfect example. They actually don't even know where they are on their web. They literally are like they're actually the fly in the web. They're not even the spider. They're just caught in the web, and they're trying to like get out of the entanglement of one strand and get onto another part of the web, you know, and they're constantly moving. When you trap them on one part of their web, they try to jump to another part. And it sounds exactly like that when they talk. They don't care when they contradict themselves. They don't care when there's any inconsistency. They'll just move to the next thing, the next thread. They don't think for a second that their view has to be holistically tied to a worldview that's grounded. So when you make epistemic claims, you can justify metaphysical claims. When you make moral claims, you can move over to epistemology. When you go into metaphysics, you can go either or. They don't have this. That's why when Jay says, let's go into your epistemology, she goes, I didn't know we were talking about epistemology here. Yeah. Because you think you can talk about metaphysics or ethics or morality in a debate and not have to ground your epistemic claims.
I think how you do that in large part, there's a couple of answers. Dr. K said this in the Bridges episode that we had with him a while back, but he essentially, when we were asking him about the value of going on these shows and engaging with them, because Stephen was very doomer-pilled about it, Dr. K kind of pointed out that if you go onto these shows and somebody has a paradigm that says all liberals are stupid and don't know what they're talking about, and at the end of the debate they go, okay, well, at least that one liberal. You know, that one liberal isn't stupid. I still disagree with them, but at least there's one. A lot of people would dismiss that and be like, okay, so they think one person's smart. But what you've actually done at a psychological level is you have broken an essentialist paradigm.
Oh my
because
gosh, dude.
There is no such thing as...
It's always this psychologizing, too. That's her main point. Notice how even during the debate with Jay, she was like, or it was in the panel, she was like, oh yeah, let's talk about psychology. I would whoop you. It's like, yeah, because your entire paradigm, your entire identity is wrapped up in a bunch of psychological nonsense.
As a good woman it's a much more difficult mindset to break than, well, there's at least one. Because if there's at least one, there can always be two, right? And so if I can go on, and for a lot of these like young angry men, they can go, okay, all women are stupid. And then they go, well, there's at least one woman who's kind of smart. That, to me, is a huge W. It's a huge, 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 huge W. Because I think most extremism is solved by exposure and by like community. So if I can pull them from view...
It's just so stupid. It's like activism. You know, they think they're saving people from extremism. This fucking fake virtue signaling bullshit. Where it's like if someone has a very strict view and they have their conviction set and they actually have the balls to say, I want to organize society consistent with my strict view of reality. They're like, you're an extremist. We need to save you. We need to bring you back into the sludge of gray matter, of indiscernible truths, ambiguity, pluralism. It's very dangerous to have conviction. It's very dangerous to walk a narrow path. Didn't you know? Paul was a postmodernist. Didn't you know? God's a relativist. The words from this witch. Anytime someone says you're an extremist, they're pulling you into pluralism. They're saying, no, you don't get to do that. We're all in this together. You don't get to use the sharp sword. You don't get to use a knife that cuts through fascia and tissue and bone. No. We're keeping this vague, plural, ambiguous, and broad.
Viewing all women to stupid to open, maybe there's one, maybe there's two. That individual at a psychological...
Which, by the way, itself is a type of performative contradiction, because your strictness is the adherence to plurality. That's your strictness. The strictness is, no, we mix it all up. We mix all the cereals. We mix all the ice cream flavors. That's our dogma.
Level is already predisposed to start.
Jason McGinney, $5. I can prove, quote, to them at least one woman liberal is smart. That would mean she'd have to be smart. Yeah, she's not. She's not the one, right, Jason? She's not the one for them.
Behavioral seeking to see if there's more than just one, right? A secondary thing, I think the left tried this mentality of platforming where it said we're not going to engage with people with toxic, harmful ideas. And I think we did that from like 2016 to kind of 2022. And we just canceled them off all of the platforms so we didn't have to hear them. And I think we told ourselves that made us win. Like we were winning the culture war. But I feel...
If I could pause you there for like a quick second, do you feel like with how the culture has changed...
Hey, do you feel, guys? Do you feel...
and how...
Are you guys feeling stuff?
Because I could definitely be wrong on this, but from what I've noticed online, especially carrying on to YouTube and stuff like that, it's kind of becoming more and more normalized at a kind of scary rate, how socially acceptable it is to like lean into these more far-right toxic talking points, like the whole all women are stupid type of thing, or the... all the politics from the right-leaning stuff that goes on.
Toxic, harmful ideas. Yeah. What's so funny is that she gets to say that, and her whole dumb audience, clearly dumb people, don't even think twice about maybe that requires a criteria. And notice that when you ask someone, a nonsense machine like notsoErudite, a criteria for her claim, like for instance, I asked her, is there a proper and true criteria for feminism? Ultimately, there wasn't. It could be the case that someone can declare that the best form of feminism is literally traditionalism, is removing power, women from power positions and redirecting them toward the home. She didn't have anything to say about that. She just goes, well, I don't think it's not my feminism. Okay, cool. So it's all subjective. It's all just a relativistic game, what feminism is. Well, that would be the same for toxicity. It's interesting. She's like, well, I think it was a mistake for us to, for the last 6 years, just ban people from platforms and call it a win. And yet she doubles down on this term toxic as if she can actually define it. It's like she's like pulling James Lindsay shit here. 5 MadeByJimbob memberships. Thank you, Pain Zombie. Ghosting, appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, don't you think the answer... I don't think the answer should be to like completely shut them all off, because that kind of does solidify the one thing that I'd say the right loves to lean into is, oh, the left always wants to cancel you. But I feel like there are kind of some instances where we as left-leaning people are kind of right for being down to cancel people who will proudly say, oh, maybe Hitler...
She's so obsessed with her looks, she keeps looking at the monitor to check herself.
Didn't do anything.
See, she just keeps looking at herself.
Wrong and shit like
Look at
that.
herself again, yeah.
Like, don't you feel like maybe we should probably go back to that just a little bit?
So there's a pretty classic study that I always cite, which tracked Reddit users who were on incel forums and that were banned from Reddit, and it tracked their movement as to like where they went, essentially after being banned off of their main platform. And it was about a 65% transference to Gab, which is just like a much more open free speech version of Reddit, more or less. And so, yeah, about 35% of people...
Her eyes look like beads. Yeah, they're just blackened beads. Just black beads.
Didn't go to Gab. They probably just went elsewhere, and they may be moderated because they entered into communities that were more moderate. The problem is that more than 50% group of them went to Gab. And when you tracked their language use, they were significantly more extreme.
She always looks wet and sweaty and just got back from a... Seriously, Rachel, when I saw her in person, I was like, have you been in a car for like 3 days or something? Like, why are you so disheveled and gross?
More violent and like more toxic.
Why do you look like you live in a tent?
In the ways that we would describe it, than they were on Reddit, and were increasingly so over like the year's time that they spent on Gab versus the year's time that they were on Reddit for the scope of this study.
If you don't care if to change their minds, you just said like 2 minutes ago, now you're worried about where they go? You sweaty meatball? You slime sausage?
Obviously on Reddit for longer than that, which shows essentially this concern, which is echo chambering, right? When you cancel a bunch of people, the idea...
It only makes them worse.
Well, it makes them worse in a very specific way. Are you familiar with Hannah Arendt's totalitarian frame?
Oh, gosh. She doesn't miss a beat. She doesn't miss any opportunity to be the teacher.
Framework?
No, I'm gonna have to say no. I wish I could say yes, honey, but I have to say no. I bow to you, teacher. Teach me.
No, not at all.
No worries. Super.
No worries. I just wanted to establish dominance over you in a passive-aggressive way. That's all. No worries. Not a worry at all. Just my way of elevating my own self-importance. Performatively. Don't worry about it, though.
You don't need to be.
So are you aware of some fucking crazy obscure shit that nobody cares and reads about at all? No? No, don't worry. Don't worry. You dumpster sausage.
I can explain it to you.
Put your little goblin hoof down, by the way. Look at that little hoofer. Look at her little claws. Look at her clawing about. You're like hot dog water manifest as flesh.
Yeah,
no, you're good. You're good.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I just totally dominated you, and I didn't need to do that. I could have said, you know what? There's this thing called XYZ. It kind of reminded me of. No, you couldn't do that. Not so erudite. You had to go the other way. You had to make sure that your own audience and the person calling in knew that you knew something obscure. You dumpster sausage.
No, you're good. So she has this idea of looking at totalitarian regimes like onions, and essentially...
Oh, wow. A woman looking at totalitarian regimes as onions. Well, maybe you should cut that onion and shut up. Why don't you take the onion and put it in a nice pan with some garlic and make me a dumpster sausage?
Totalitarian regimes, I'm going to use her metaphor to explain what I think happens in radicalization as well.
Andy, hey, nice job last night, Andy, by the way. It's always a pleasure to share a panel with you. I'm always happy when I see you on the panel. I'm like, okay, there's going to be a reasonable, smart person here. Jimbob, nice work on the debate last night. Michael was using classical terminology under the guise of modern liberalism. Correct. They're dumb body movements. She is a GIF. She is GIF. She's a GIF. She's GIF. Yeah, seriously. She's a GIF gold mine.
and echo chambers. So in a totalitarian regime, or I think in an echo chamber, everyone within the onion has the same opinion, but the people on the outsides of the onion are the most reasonable versions of that. Whereas as you get towards the center, it's more crazy. And so when you're getting pulled...
What? Oh, she's gonna use this. When you pull the summer sausage out of the skin sack, which I just call waking up,
into an echo chamber. When you start out, you're...
Oh, you're not in an echo chamber? What? You're not in an echo chamber? Talking about. When you start out, let me just let me just babble on and discuss this. You know how many times during the panel I looked over at Jay and we just like smirked? Because every moment she could, she was like, let me just do a super pedantic ramble fest on this one tiny obscure topic. Let me just give me 10 minutes to do it. Jack, $5. I went to a debate camp. You went to debate camp between my junior and senior year, and all the people there were like her. Needless to say, I didn't continue debate club. Yeah, I could imagine that was one of Dante's layers. Jason McGinney, $5. It's always just metaphors and illustrations. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's always just abstract. You get to the what's abstract is useful. Analogies are useful. Metaphors are useful. But you use them as a tool. If you can't get to the nitty gritty of the actual, it's just all useless. It's just like fluffing people's brains and petting their brains. Like, here, you pet my brain, I'll pet your brain. Tain't enough from $5. I didn't know this was possible, but I think you're evolving to be funnier, Jimbob. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're probably mostly going to be surrounded by semi-reasonable people to people slightly more extreme than...
Also, this assumes that her standard of what's reasonable is accurate in this onion, right? Whoever this silly woman is who should have been cutting an onion instead of thinking about totalitarian regimes. By the way, what is a woman going to do about a totalitarian regime anyway? Apparently, the only thing they can come up with is an analogy with an onion. You're not going to do anything about it. In fact, the best idea you can come up with is a group of men who are just as powerful as the totalitarian regime to battle them and start a war. The best thing that women could do is just to advocate for war. And maybe, like, hold sex back, Hold off sex and advocate for war. And then cook, of course. Smallest $5. Her worldview is like an onion. As soon as you slice through it, she starts to cry. Yeah, and it smells. Fills a room with a stench of someone who lives in a car and dresses up as a garbage sausage.
Than you. But you would probably not fuck with people who are super extreme. But the problem is that as you get accepted into the social culture, you tend to trickle inwards over time, so that what feels normal is increasingly more extreme, and then what feels extreme...
You mean like everywhere? How come you're not using that on the things you advocate for? Or at least the things you accept? You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, they have a monopoly on the term extreme. And honestly, the best thing to do is bite the bullet. Because, you get called extreme and you're like, no, I'm not. And you're like, you just say, yeah. Yeah, I'm extreme. Compared to the reality we're in, yeah. I don't know. If I think that someone with a dick can't be a woman and you call that extreme, then I'm whacked out there extreme. I'm like you can't turn me around extreme. Not so erudite. If you think that a man can f their junk and sew a fake thing that looks like a, and you think that's and I think it's not, and that makes me extreme, consider me unsavable. Hot dog water manifest as flesh. I'm stealing that one.
You get used to a little bit more until again you shift right again. And this is how Hannah Arendt argues that totalitarian
Hannah Arendt. Oh yeah.
Regimes become extremely radicalized in their own worldview, whether they're far left or far right. And I think that this is true for what we
Walter Mellon, $5. Jay was the perfect match for her. He didn't allow her to hide her sophistry.
see in the online space. So when we shift them all into an echo chamber where they can only talk to each other, I think we've created a necessary pipeline where they become so much worse. And then what happens is that a billionaire's daughter hurts his feelings and becomes trans. He buys Twitter, and suddenly all of these people that the left had canceled and we all got to pretend didn't exist anymore came flooding back.
You can't become, you black-eyed demon. You literally have black jelly beans for eyes.
And Twitter is...
You look like you're on a permanent audition for Twilight. You look like every girl who wants to be approached and asked, "Do you play guitar?" But the answer is no, you don't.
worse than it has ever been before. It is insane.
But
Yeah.
don't you feel like, you know, in that case, in that instance right there, don't you feel like that was kind
Touch your mouth, suck on your finger a little bit. Do it for the audience.
of, I don't even know if I'd want to...
Pucker those lips. Sell it. She's like a combination of a total, like, and intellectual. She's just like, well, I don't have to sell. I could still act kind of, but I'll sell my brains.
Put that in line of like a situation of circumstances that was kind of just like the guy who happened to have a shitload of money to spend and essentially completely rearrange an entire platform for the worse, right? I don't know how, I don't know, there's nothing that, you know, anybody on the spectrum could have done to like prevent that or change that. We don't even know what, at least I don't really know what a guy like Elon Musk was really...
Jason can sell $10. Do you believe the reason why nobody has been able to defend feminism is proof that the ideology is evil and antithetical to how society works? Are we seeing the beginning of the end? I think we're seeing the beginning of the end, Jason. I think, and it's not even a logical argument, honestly, Jason. I think it's, what it comes down to is women themselves, even if they get a hint that it's been a massive lie, a big, what do you call a catfish, Jason? The fact that women are waking up and saying they're seeing that they've been catfished. They don't even need to understand force doctrine. They don't need to understand the philosophy, how it's broken. They don't need to understand the roots, the beginnings of feminism. They don't need to know the occult stuff. What they need to know is, in their experience, which they're going to, basically, we know this about women, they're going to appeal to their anecdotal experience anyway. So if more women are going to have the experience that being sold this future of owning the lanyard and working for Nike and, you know, taking the elevator up 25 floors and leaving at 11:30 p.m. and getting a raise and being at work parties and all this shit. If they come to terms with that, that is not something they're going to sustain unless they want a very specific kind of life. A lonely life. A life without children. A life without a husband. Go for it. But women are kind of going, what am I doing? I'm exhausted. I don't want to work. If I can set it up, if I can set up my life to find a man who can provide for me, I will provide for the man. And I will provide children for the man. I'll provide a home for the man. I'll provide love. I'll provide anything else. Anything else. But the thing is, feminism is so rancid because it attacks the time period for women where they could pursue that. That's what makes it so egregious and horrific. There are other worldviews that could be generally horrific wherever they're placed in a lifetime of a person. But because of the time constraint with women, feminism is such a demonic spiritual attack on women specifically. And because it's an attack on women, it attacks men indirectly. And what I mean by that is, If men are looking for younger women, right? 20s, 25, whatever, that range, 20 to 30. They're looking for women to be their wives and mother their children. Their standards aren't that high. Men's standards aren't that high for this. And they look, and they're looking at a pool of women who are like, yeah, but I'm going to wait till I'm 44. Well, no, I need to try to live my life first. This is the women they're looking at. You know what I mean? Such a disservice to society. It's a disservice to men, to women and men. Oh, no, I just need a party for 19 years, and sleep with 100 people and potentially get syphilis. Then I'll settle down. Why don't these men want me? I'm ready to do it because you're a garbage sausage now. That's why. But whatever. I mean, I partied. I just got that. I just had to get that through. I had to get that out of the way. I needed 15 years of endless, countless sexual partners. I needed to explore Tuscany. I'm ready now. What's the problem? Yeah, it's too late for you, honey. I don't understand. I'm ready now. No. You're not in the pool anymore. Jason said for $10. Oh, I already answered that. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. They want to call us all extreme and then pretend they're not the ones who cause us to be extreme. Well, also that they're not extreme. They're pretending they're not extreme. Rikvis, are you Latvian? $5. The first man in history to ever tell a woman he wanted to hear her ideas is to blame for all of this slippery slope. Yeah. Safe, legal, and rare. Yeah, it's funny. I heard Elijah Schaefer once on a podcast, and they were talking about women working. And it's like, yeah, if a woman has like a part-time job or whatever, adds to some income, it can't hurt, as so long as it doesn't get in the way of the duties of the house and the children and everything else. But in regards to like how men see women and what they bring, and how women see men and what they bring to the woman might be slightly interested in what the man does content-wise, but mostly is it make money? Is it supportive? Can they bring home the bacon, basically? Which is fair. But he said something funny. He was like, when a woman coming to a man and saying their passion and like their job, he said it's equivalent to when your kid brings you a new sort of picture they drew. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Oh, that's cute. But it's never going to be equal. It's never going to be equal to a woman who meets a man and goes, "Oh, provider. This guy's loaded. Do I have a chance here? I mean, he's got a lot of options. What am I going to offer him?" And women are all confused because they think being super hot is the thing. No. That's for the superficial man. That's for all of these like sort of like, I don't know, these manosphere people who want to get laid with hot women and all this shit. The man that you actually want to marry is looking for you to provide the children and be that wholesome rock in the house, in their life. Doesn't mean you don't have hobbies, and doesn't mean you couldn't develop some sort of income in some way. That's not the argument. The women are so misled and delusional. Like, even if you look at the way they rate themselves, people think that's like a really stupid thing on like whatever podcast. It's generally like a silly thing to examine, but it does point to something. It's a barometer for how delusional, especially the women are. The men are not delusional. Why is that? Why is it if you took 50 men currently and 50 women, the men would probably accurately rate themselves. Like just generally, like there'd be a sort of universality to, that is, they are a 6. They are a 6. The women are totally different though. That's what makes it extra tormenting for men living in a modern liberal feminist, basically a feminist viewed society, is that the men have to live in it knowing they're in contrast. Their mind and their thoughts and their descriptions of reality are in contrast to the view. And they're surrounded by women and some men who hold a view that's so insanely incompatible with reality. And we just kind of take it and we're just like, these people are insane. It's like dealing with children who think like they're going to be the authority. It's like children. It's like my kid is like, you go to your room. That's what it's like. That's what feminism is. Feminism is can be reduced down to your child looking at you and saying, you go to your room. No. And we're just like, when are they going to grow up? You know what I mean? You look at like notsoErudite here and you go, oh, you poor thing. When are you going to develop? It's like you're looking at a child. You're like, is this a phase? Are you going to wake up? And unfortunately, like children, these poor women bite so hard on feminism that they only wake up when it's too late, when the devil has taken their glory, when the devil has taken what they're here to do, the good that they can provide society on net balance, a man, a house, children, even some elements of the workforce, even what they can provide with their nature. They wake up and all that's taken from them. Faustian.
Really thinking back and say like 2018 when things were significantly different than they are now.
Yeah. And so this is where I'm going to get to purely my speculation.
Crisis King says, women are delusional, but they're right in not putting themselves under deadbeat men. Well, yeah, this is a key thing that I think is missing from all of the red pill talking points. And generally, the sort of combative nature of debating feminism in general and women's delusions is that there's this expectation from men for women to go back to their proper duties, which would be submissive, right? Some super jacked rich dude who's grabbing onto some of these talking points goes, hey, well, are you going to be submissive? Are you going to be submissive? And if she was smart enough, she would say, show me what submission looks like. If you're one of these like dudes who are like, frequenting all of these different podcasts where they're like, yeah, men have to rise up and, women, feminism's bad and all this stuff. And, women have to get back to submission. If we ask you if you're submitted to the church and you're not, you're full of shit. Sorry. You're full of it. You need a paradigm to show women what submission looks like so they can actually join you in a type of hierarchical submission. It's like submission's like this, by the way. It's not there's a man and there's a woman. That's flat. That's not submission. But you get all these dudes who are like, oh yeah, fuck, you gotta get back to these dumb feminists. They're gonna submit. They need to submit. And we're like, are you a Christian? No. Just want the submissive woman, yo. High five. You eat raw meat yet, bro? It's like, dude, you're delusional. You're delusional. The man who demands submission from a woman who doesn't submit to God is just as delusional as the feminist. They're the male feminist. They're being the feminist with a higher authority. It's reflective of men too. They want liberation from God. Oh, the terrible God patriarchy, you know, stopping me from doing what I want. Men have the form of feminism. It's spiritual. It's like it's with God. That's man's feminism. It's the rejection and rebellion to God. They're not submissive to God. And they keep pointing to all the women. I had a hard time when you and Jay debated her. I had to close my eyes. I don't know if it's too much makeup. Look like a clown. She looks like a plastic. Yeah, she looks like a real like weird robotic. She looks like if they made like a, you know, they make these AI movies with they're like, oh, it's a, you know, like she could have been the AI bot in, or the robot in, what was that recent movie? I told you all to watch it because I want to review it. I forgot what it's called, though. You know how I forget things. It's a good movie to watch. You should watch it, though.
I could be wrong, just to be clear. My speculation when I look...
That's what Pearl doesn't get. That's why she's so annoying. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She's just a complainer.
At all of this is that the right has been very...
Facts. Men being submissive to God, there would be no... Pretty much, Jeremy. Like, there'd still be problems with modernity. There'd be problems with women believing in sexual liberation and all that. But in regards to the argument that women should be submissive, if you're going to make that argument and you can't, and you're not grounding it in Christianity, there's no reason the woman should accept it at all.
Very effective.
Companion. Thank you. The companion. You're so dumb, Jimbob. You couldn't even remember a very popular, relevant movie.
At pulling people in and embracing them.
Embracing them?
And the left has been
Question,
extremely
question,
effective at
up,
chasing people
upward
out.
inflection question?
For example, there is no Tulsi Gabbard of the left. There is no politician, speaker who went from being moderate left to kind of like a crazy version of, I think, moderate right. I don't even know all of her positions, but like, regardless, who's gone to the right. And it was the greatest career decision she could have ever made. It has been nothing but fruitful. She has been embraced with nothing but welcoming arms. There's no opposite.
We're at 26 of the 50. Let's get those Jortlandian taxes in, people. Thank you, Payne, for following. Woot, 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 he says. $20. Thank you. That's very generous of you. Payne Zombie Ghosting. W's in the chat for Payne. Zombie Ghosting.
Opposite of that. If you are on the left, all you can do is prove your purity or be kicked out, right? And so I think what the left did with this cancel culture energy and the morality that got attached to it is we made it so that the pipeline is to the right because we won't.
Why is she dressed like, what is this? Is that an anime character? She's dressed like a street, like there was like a Street Fighter character that never made it to retail. You know what I mean? It's like she's doing some weird Japanese mix. She looks like she's trying to look like that one chick, the hot Mortal Kombat chick, but she just looks like Liu Kang came from a garbage can. Like Liu Kang crawled out of a garbage dumpster and he's like,
accept refugees from the left. We will not do it. And so
Michael Waxton, yeah, she does look like Michael Jackson. What the? This is how you, like, once you're a mother, you can't wear that choker. MadeByJimbob, are you seeing this? If Megan was like put that choker with the leather and the whole the circle, and she's like making sandwiches for the kids. You guys want peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Just a fucking choker, just leather choker, the fucking shiny circle. Half her tit out with a Johnny Liu Kang dress. Get your life together. You're a grown-up. It's like you ordered a Mortal Kombat outfit from Walmart. We're supposed to take you seriously on your commentary about society and its failures? Look at yourself. You look like you're waiting for someone to take you out to pee.
When I look at Twitter and Elon Musk, one of the questions I pose is, what did we do to drive Elon so hard away from the left?
Fatality.
And I think one of the things that we did is refuse to talk to people.
What? No. You doubled down that dudes can have babies. Alter Void $5, adding to the Jortlandian taxation scheme. JB, you know how they are guys' faces and they're just... She's the face female version for you. Yeah, she is. She is. She's the... Jordan says for $5, as one of the bots that Erudite claims Jay had on his Piers Morgan appearance, here is more money, JB. Tallest man cover. Great tallest man cover. God bless you. Thank you for that, Jordan. I appreciate that.
We refused to talk to them, and when we did talk to them, we just like put them up as pariahs, treated them like evil people, labeled them with the worst names that we could think of, and shunned them. I mean, Jordan Peterson is a great example of this.
Well, look at yourself. It's like it's like if your body is a room, clean it up. That's what it means. How is anyone supposed to take you seriously in the world? You're wearing your goddamn collar. People can't even tell if you're wearing a wig or not. What is this outfit? It's like, make up your mind. Are you a respectable, presentable woman or not? Are you an 11-year-old who wants to have Halloween all year? Haven't you read my book, 12 Rules for Wives? Apparently not. For all you DJB, thank you so much. Very generous of you. $20 comes in. The Cheap Champ, who's a Jortlandian aristocrat, so we should all listen up. What do you mean by fucking you? This bitch has got it all wrong. It's not look, it's not a singular thing that moves people away from leftism. This is the fundamental flaw with these people. They don't see the world through the prism of a worldview. They see the world through particulars. And so they have to scapegoat certain particular moments in history and say, that's why it happened. This is why it happened. It's fundamentally flawed, philosophically, metaphysically. It's how you get these shit shows on stages talking endlessly for hours. They fail to realize, what if it's the case that the problem on the left is that you have no standard for absolute truth? Have you ever considered that garbage sausage? Apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got a really good point. Damn, this is actually like this is kind of like the greatest for me to be able to like have this discussion. But I don't really have that much time. But one.
Why? Because you have AIDS?
One more significant thing that I kind of want to pose to you is because I consider myself a fairly deep liberal, but I don't like to at all align with left extremists. I consider myself a lot more than just left leaning, but not like too crazy on like every single instance of something that I don't like. But
wow, really? The way you summarized your political views there, really, really eloquent stuff there. Jordo tax payment, thank you so much for that taxation. coming in, $20 from President Sundowner. I really appreciate that. 31 of the 50. Thank you so much.
When it comes to being a lefty, what would you say, I guess, in kind of looking for your advice, what would you say when it comes to, I notice whenever I speak on
Today, Junior!
things, I kind of have to solidify my own backbone to acknowledge that, like what I've been
I bet you know about being backbone.
what I've been painting to you is that no matter how much of a empathetic I like to see things in,
No matter how much empathetic I like to see things in, is this the, I don't know, is this like the average IQ of her base right now? Is this...
it frustratingly gets chased away no matter how reasonably I am, no matter
What are you even talking? Nobody knows what you're saying. You're referring to
how
me.
rational I am, and it sucks having to deal with it from both the right and then also the extreme left.
She doesn't even have the consideration to say, hold on, there's a super chat being read.
In which a lot of them I would share a lot of worldviews with being left, but it also contributes back to...
She doesn't give a shit. She's just waiting for her to be in the teaching position again.
I feel like when I have a moral backbone that I try to establish, it runs a greater risk of more harm than good towards me. So I guess...
What? Did he just say, the more I try to solidify a moral position, the worse off it is for me? These people are such weak little maggots.
Yes, I'm asking you, for you, what is it like having to deal with that?
Was it like for you? I want to know what it's like being you. Tell me what it's like to be you.
And what really pushes you to kind of, get back to what astounds your, like your beliefs and what you know between right is right and wrong is wrong in that sense. If that
You imagine this is your life? Yes, Ben. Look, that actually made sense to her. She's looking up at the sky. She's like, cool. Cool, I'm going to pretend that everything you just said was totally coherent for a second. And because you ended your incoherent rambling with some question to me, here I am. I'm so glad I'm here to be able to take your deep, unique questions.
question makes sense.
I think so. I'm going to attempt to answer it and then stop me if I'm not answering you.
You should probably do a better job, Brestiny, Chestiny, Destina, garbage sausage. You should probably reframe the question because your audience probably, if they're anything like my audience, have no idea what he just said. Altervoid $10. I'm starting to understand that when these crazy women have to wear a fake body of plastic makeup and bulking up, it makes it into a costume. So now everyone can wear the woman costume, right? Well, that's why she looks what they call trans.
Western women were given freedom beyond the imagination of any woman in any other part of the world, at any time, ever, and they called it oppression. Give an inch, take a mile.
That's right. That's right, Vagine. Just, by the way, this still applies to men. So this is not just some singular attack on the class called women or females, right? When you just give society just liberation and liberation becomes the thing you pursue and it's above all, right? All of the conservative TM people, all the classical liberals, the James Lindsay, the Tapussas, Ben Shapiro, they're all leaning toward liberty above all. That's a failure. How are you going to be surprised when you worship liberty? You're going to be surprised by feminism. This is what's so annoying about sort of like the covert feminists. There's a lot of covert feminist men too. You know, if I were to choose who is going to be on the chopping block of say Andrew, you know, because he definitely finds a way to expose the conservative women who are actually covert feminists. Next is the men. And they're there. They love Lady Liberty. They are simps for Lady Liberty. Lady Liberty is the one OnlyFans they have a lifetime membership to.
So, to me, debate is like almost a sacred process for me.
Oh man, do I want to fight you. Debate is a sacred process? That's weird. It's weird that debating is a sacred process when, one, you just said 20 minutes ago that you don't care if you move people's positions. You said you don't even want to. Second, debating is a sacred process, and you literally figuratively shit all over the debate stage. You literally take a dump. You take a sacred dump. Sacred process. What a joke.
I care about debate a lot. Because when I enter debates, to this day...
Whoops, I shouldn't have done that. I couldn't help myself. I had to bring it up. I didn't have the visual ready, so I had to do it myself. L's in the chat for me, because now that's there. But I had to do it. I really care about debates. Okay. Okay, lady. Okay, Liu Kang. Okay, Liu Kangasaur. $20 from Pain Zombie. Thank you so much. The more we give JB, the more money goes to fighting against this low IQ condescending brat. Send more super chats. Agreed. In fact, the more I can raise, maybe I will schedule a fight.
I genuinely enter them assuming that my position will be broadened, deepened, and fleshed out more, right? That I enter debates being willing to be moved on certain things.
Yeah, right. You're so full of shit. You're a liar. You're a lying little black soul demon. What a crock of shit. Yeah. You know, people who actually care about being moved or whatever, first of all, that's not even the point of the debate. You don't go into a debate being like, well, I'm just looking for a position where he moves me off my position. I can't wait for that to happen. That's not even true for debating, but even if that were the case, which it's not, when you're demonstrated to have a broken view and a contradictory view, if you said, I'm willing to be moved, well, obviously you don't have a standard for what should move you, considering you get wrecked all the time on your worldview. You literally think a man can pull in their body and make a fake special effects, and you think that not so bright in a Baraka in a wig. Baraka in a wig. Nice callback, Baraka. That's funny. Wi-Fi Gospel, $5. If debate is a sacred to notsoErudite, my toilet must be the altar. For real.
To bite bullets and acknowledge where like my opposition is correct, because by doing so, I think I flesh out my own worldview more. And I'll be the first to say I don't think 2025 debates look like good faith debates very often.
Oh, says the worst faith debater probably that I've ever seen. Admittedly, she even admits it. Remember, I was cornering that girl next to me, and in comes not so bright. She asks a random question, totally random. I'm like, why did you ask that during my cross-examination of this person? She was like, I just wanted to know. I just wanted to completely divert the conversation in bad faith. That's what I was doing. Harrison Parker, $5. Broadened, deepened, fleshed out more is the name of her X-tape for real.
They're pretty bad. Yeah. But what they do is they...
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Do you know what an ectopic pregnancy is? Tell me what gametes are. Tell me what gametes are. Can you tell me what gametes are? Really does show what sacred means to her. Yeah, seriously. Like, even without knowledge of her horrific debate tactics, President Sundowner, to even say debate itself, like, just generally speaking, is some type of sacred category is pretty wild. Alter Void, $5. JB, shut the F up. I think you are telling me that Arnold Schwarzenegger is not really a robot. No. Yeah, totally. She's not. Yeah, he's not, unfortunately. $5. Angry Beaver. Erudite is the girl who would send me nudes. I'm drawing clothes back on them and return to sender shit. She has nothing to offer a real man. I don't know what her husband is up to, dude. Now, I don't know if he's a public figure or does debate, and, you know, I don't want to put any interest on him or whatever, but it's just something that I think about that came up during that whole thing where I was like, who is this dude who tolerates this? What kind of man tolerates this noise? Oh my gosh. Can you imagine just trying to have a decent meal and that thing's yapping from across the table like a shadowy little creature? Just endlessly. Like, I don't even think she could answer, like, the question, how was your day? Just a basic question, how was your day? Without it just devolving.
It develops skills. They do flesh out my rhetoric. So, for example, walking away from the Jay versus Jimbob. Jimbob, behind the scenes, is actually a really nice guy. He's really funny, like genuinely very funny. He just seems like kind of a nice dad. Which is a little mindfucky where you're like, why do you say the things that you do? Like,
yeah, there's no contradiction. You know, I know you're going to touch your brain. There's no contradiction in being a nice guy in person with people and being a nice dad and all of that and being an absolute pit bull with retardation. This is the disconnect here. You know, this is the same logic that nice Christians use, by the way. Same thing. By the way, she identifies as Orthodox Protestant or whatever. They think that because you hold yourself respectable in person, formally in person, and I do, anywhere I go, they think that restricts you from being super expressive in another context, or super aggressive, or super attacky, or insulting even. They think like, wait, what's happening here? What's happening here? It's the same logic as like the nice Protestant people. They're like, you're not Christian. You called her a sausage.
How much do you believe it? Whereas like Jay was just... it just kind of sucks, like in every way, shape, or form. And so there's a fleshing out that happened, for example, in like the public Twitter dunking I was willing to do on both of them, where there was certain things.
Twitter dunking? Wait, did you just announce that you Twitter dunked? Wait a second. Did you just declare yourself dunking? Lady, if there's such a thing as Twitter dunking, you can't even touch the net. Nicholas Clinton, $10. Yo, JB, thanks for the stream. Only one good thing I took from Blowin' Benjamin was support what you like or it goes away. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We're at 41 of 50. 9 more reach the goal, and we will continue the epic stream today. I'm willing to look at a whole variety of other things. This just happened to pique my interest. Jordan says, ouch, I just cut my cheek shaving. Didn't mean to give myself a sex chat. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Whoops, I have a my face. It's really small. That would be so funny, dude, if you like, you cut yourself and then you have like a surgeon friend, you know, for free, just make little labias and stuff like on the tiny little cut. And you're all, hey, you have a magnifying glass? I'm trans. Really? No, I'm trans. Do you deny my... Where? I told you. Hold this magnifying glass up to my chin. I should do that with the line in my face. This little scowl line. I just straight up get some labia flaps on that. You know? It would just change my whole expression. Like, what? What did you just say? You don't actually believe that, do you? It's a good question. If a fake vagina is actually a real vagina, why would the size matter? I mean, I'm not saying that you... I mean, just think about that. You can theoretically and practically have microscopic on your skin. It's crazy, but it's not inconsistent. Alter Void, hey, made by Nice Dad Jimbob. Why don't you just let them walk why don't you just let them walk all over you? Isn't that what she's really saying? Yeah, like, she's basically saying, like, how could he be so aggressive with his views? Pain Zombie gives 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Adding to the Jortlandia citizenship, starting with work visas. Has to start with work visas. Long Live Liberty gives it 99 cents. Thanks for 99
things
cents.
that like hurt Jimbob's feelings that I was willing to remove. Whereas with Jay, I don't think I would give a fuck about any.
It didn't hurt my feelings, you scoundrel. You literally alluded to that I'm a PDF. She's such a manipulator. Oh, you do a post insinuating that someone's into children. And then you when I call you out on it, how horrible that is. You say, oh, it hurt his feelings.
Anything that would hurt his feelings, because I don't think that I'm dealing with like a reasonable person with feelings that I care about in any meaningful way. And it tests to some degree the litmus of like when I'm willing to, for example, engage in bad faith. There has to be an answer to that, because I'm not going to infinitely engage in good faith debate. So when is bad faith useful? How do you use it effectively? And when should you use it?
Wait, what? Wait a second. Such a gaslighting. She's a gaslighter. Did she just say what I think she said? Clicker comes in with a massive super chat, $100 up on the screen into the war chest. Thank you so much. Gotta give Brestany props for her impromptu literary skills. The way she foreshadowed her amorphous definitions by preempting that definitions made clear in order to avoid talking past each other. Jordan Peterson voice, like fuck. Yeah, like a real postmodernist. Thank you so much for that very generous donation, Clicker. I appreciate that. Alter Void $5. Hey, does that mean I can call anyone that pops a pimple on their face now a pussy face? Yeah, you could. You actually could, by their logic, if you just declare one of your erupt pimples as a. I'm not sure they can disagree with you.
Right, and so it's like, even though neither of those.
She just said she's trying to figure out when you engage in bad faith or not. Or let's be a little more charitable. Maybe she's saying she just worded it wrong. Like, maybe she's saying when it is you should engage with the bad faith actors, maybe. But it didn't sound like that. It sounded like she was saying, when should you turn on the bad faith mobile?
Those two
When should you hop in the bad faith
who
mobile?
fleshed out my thinking about feminism or patriarchy, which would have been more interesting. It still had utility in fleshing out, okay, well, when my opponent is being purely bad faith, once they realize that they probably can't engage on the ideas with the ideas themselves.
No, that was the opposite for Jay. Jay has a quick eject button, by the way. If he sees that you're not even up to par, he's not going to sit there and walk you through with crayons what an argument is. He just doesn't. He's not going to do it. He's not going to have the time or the patience. It's not what he's there for. So once he gets you in a position where he understands you don't know what the hell you're talking about and you have no arguments, he's not going to sit there and try to pretend he's having a real debate with you. I'll do that because I'm stupid like that. I'll do it. I'll do it all day. But he's not going to do it.
Themselves. Now it's an optics game. And so I have to be willing to potentially utilize bad faith at certain times to ensure that I'm winning optics games. Because if I win optics games, I might pull people to my side still. And
the whole thing's a projection then. The whole thing, admittedly. She's playing optics. That's what she's looking at. She needs to play optics. That's why she tries to do these like quick quiz. She does a quick quiz. That's her go-to optics. Quick quiz. Quick quiz. It's quiz time, kids. What a sicko.
and I make his side look worse. And that's
You don't make his side look worse, dude.
still decently not a bad idea to do.
She's confidently ignorant. Really, I honestly. Seriously.
Did that answer your question in any way of like essentially what I got from it? Because I don't know if you're
No. What I got from that, and the whole audience here got from that, is that you yourself are aware and ready to engage in terrible faith tactics, including just going for optics above all, just so the other side looks worse.
asking what I got from it.
No,
These people deserve zero charity at all. Zero. It's my weakness. Too much charity. I'm too charitable. Stupid. Bad Jimbob. Loser. L's in the chat for Jimbob. L's in the chat for being too charitable. L's in the chat. L's in the chat. L's in the chat. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? It's like, oh, should I be charitable to this person? Well, no.
No f***ing duh.
Of course I shouldn't be.
no, it did. It did. The only part that it kind
You
of
got to destroy these people. Rhetorically, argumentatively, destroy aggression. Straight aggression. I was too nice to this person. Way too nice. If it wasn't for Jay doing it first and just unleashing it, because I actually thought he would be, like, if it was an academic setting and she maintained good faith, they could actually go at it, right? In a more orderly fashion than maybe you'd see me. But that blew up fast, and so I was like, oh, well, I can't have a Royal Rumble 2 necessarily. Maybe take a different approach. Well, no, that's not good for me. I need to aggressively tear at these people. Give them zero bubbles of air. Zero. President Sundowner, $5. This chick cries a lot when she's alone. She knows it's a put on. Well, both Jay and I know for a fact that she's looks at this as like some sort of business. Like she's like, she talked about optics. She told Jay, like, basically she was like, this is a rebranding. I'm trying to rebrand. So she's doing a thing. It's like a thing.
it didn't answer was the whole moral backbone thing that I wouldn't shut up about. When it comes to like understanding that For a personal anecdote for me is that when I do speak, like I said, when I speak on things, I notice I'm still gonna get a load of backlash either way, no matter how much nuance I pour in.
Who are you? I want that guy to call in immediately. Who is this person?